first dilemma is from Anonymous. Hey mate, hope you're doing well. I've been watching you for a while and seeing how you've grown and developed has really inspired me. I'm a recent graduate and started working as a finance analyst for a big company. While it's not a terrible job, I feel like I'm wasting away my 20s and being in an office. I've always wanted to be able to work for myself and be able to work from anywhere, but my issue is I don't know how I would be able to do that, as I feel I don't have the skills to be able to do so. I currently live at home with my parents as I'm trying to save as much as I can to invest into myself, and I'm not a material person, just want enough to live on. The big thing for me is freedom, which I feel like I don't have. From a health perspective, I went through a weight loss journey, but I've gained some of it back, and another big goal is to get back to where I was originally weight-wise. Mentally, I'm in a questionable place due to my first ever girlfriend cheating on me and lying to me. It's put me in a very weird headspace. While I do know it's over and want to move on months later, I still do think about her and I don't know the reason why. I've started a podcast as a pet project as it's something I really wanted to do and it's a start. I just feel like it's not enough to be a content creator and be able to make a living from it. Any advice from yourself or the community would be great. Okay, Anonymous, so first of all, congratulations on the job. And with that being said, I do want to disclose this, okay? I feel like there's this perception of being self-employed that a lot of people have, my younger self included, that I won't say is false, but there's definitely another side of self-employment that most people don't really take into consideration. And I want to kind of divulge that for you, just so that you understand what you're getting yourself into. Now, you have this financial analyst job. I'm assuming it comes with certain benefits, maybe health insurance, things like that. We don't get any of that when we're self-employed. Okay, if you're self-employed, you don't have any sort of benefits other than the freedom. But get this, you also can never truly be self-employed. Now, what do I mean by that? The reason why you can never be self-employed is because in a free market economy, your money is always coming from somewhere else. And the person who is giving you the money, that is your boss. Or in this case, for example, with me making YouTube videos, you guys are my bosses. Recently, I had an epiphany where I realized that I don't have a boss anymore. I have 153,000 of them. I have 153,000 bosses, and if everybody who subscribed to me collectively decided to no longer watch my videos, I would not make any more money. If I decided to stop making videos, I would make a negligible amount of money, to the tune of maybe $600 a month, give or take. Which isn't terrible, by the way, for passive income, but the point is that you're never really self-employed. I would say you're self-employed when you begin making passive income that enables you to live off of just your passive income. I remember reading in a book a while back, it might have been Rich Dad Poor Dad, that wealth is measured by the amount of time that you can go without working. And I feel like for most people, being self-employed means that you're going to be working even more than you will be at a job. Because when you're self-employed, there's no clocking out. You take the work home with you every single time. Whenever something goes wrong, it falls back on you. This is why I personally believe that it's perfectly morally justifiable for CEOs to make so much more money than the lower end workers. Because the CEOs are the ones who are taking all of the risk. They are the ones who are putting their necks on the line. Now, obviously, I'm not really trying to go on that sort of tangent because that's a very nuanced discussion. But my point is that being self-employed is the Wild West. There is no stability in this whatsoever. And if you understand that and accept that, and not just the idea of it, but the actual experience of it from a month-to-month basis, then you'll be perfectly fine. But understand that being self-employed is not all that it's cracked up to be. Would I trade this for a 9-to-5? No, not at this stage in my life. But maybe in the future I would be willing to make that transition. I don't know. I do know that for right now, living with my parents and having such a low overhead and it just being me at the moment, at least in this current situation, I'm perfectly fine with having an income that fluctuates so heavily and having to pay my taxes during tax time, so on and so forth. But if I had a child to take care of, if it was me, my girlfriend, and then we had a child, I don't know that I would be comfortable with that. I don't know that I would be comfortable with having such a volatile income, and that's kind of the nature of self-employment. And not only that, but with self-employment, it's very difficult to save money, at least here in America. I don't know what it's like in other countries, Because, like I said, you have to pay your taxes. And we have to pay more taxes, contrary to popular belief, than people who work at jobs. Because we have the self-employment tax, 15.3% self-employment tax. What is 15.3% self-employment tax? Basically, we have to pay for the Medicare and Social Security tax for both the employer half and the employee half, because we are the employer and the employee. So basically, we're paying more in taxes, but we also get more tax deductions. But then in order to get the tax deductions, you have to spend your money, right? So it can be very, very difficult to put money away when you're self-employed, because the general idea of being self-employed is that you're supposed to reinvest in the brand. So just understand what you're getting yourself into, and also understand the difference between being self-employed and being an entrepreneur. Now, the dictionary definition might conflate these two terms, but I see them as two completely different things. Being self-employed means that you work for yourself, but nobody works for you. Being an entrepreneur means that you work for yourself, but you also have employees working under you. And in a sense, you work for those employees, because if they all quit, then your business tanks, right? Because if you have employees, the chances are is that you need them. So in other words, you have to understand what you're getting yourself into. Now, all of that being said, to my point earlier, being self-employed is still pretty amazing. The fact that I can especially create content for a living, and eventually I'll be able to write books for a living, I mean, that is absolutely amazing, especially in your early 20s. But understand that it's not all that it's cracked up to be all the time. There are positive aspects of it and there are negative aspects of it, just like with any other trade or profession. Life is all about trade-offs. There's no perfect situation, and as long as you know that, and as long as you can accept that, you will be happy wherever you go. So if you feel like now is the time to try to double down on being self-employed, then by all means go for it. By all means go for it. I wouldn't advise you to quit your job if you have student loan debt. That would be a pretty silly decision in my opinion, but do what feels best for you. You already have this podcast going, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people who can relate to you being in that situation. They're working at these jobs that they don't necessarily want to work at, and they're looking to pursue this dream that doesn't really make sense probably to most other people, but it feels right to them. Use that relatability as your primary marketing tactic, and I can assure you with 100% certainty that your platform will grow, be it through the podcast, through a YouTube channel, TikTok, Instagram, whatever you choose to include in your self-employment endeavors. It will attract an audience because there are a lot of people that relate to you. Your job is to connect with those people. Now, as far as the weight loss journey, that just comes down to consistency in the gym, right? That comes down to consistency in the gym, but consistency in the gym is all about your mental fortitude. Now, I know you have a lot of mental fortitude because you have this job, and in order to have gotten this job, you needed a degree, I'm assuming, or you needed some sort of further education, which means that you have some degree of mental fortitude. All you need to do is put forth that same mental fortitude, use that same mental trait that you have toward fitness. Put it toward fitness, and I can assure you that you will see results. You're going to see results. Now, the key is you have to figure out a why. Figure out a strong enough why. Why do you want to get in shape? How will it feel when you get into shape? Are there maybe certain clothes that you want to purchase that you can't fit right now, but once you get in shape, you will be able to fit them? You have to think about a why. Create an externally based goal and let the drive come from inside. The motivation comes from outside. The drive, the why, comes from inside. Now, as far as your dating situation goes, I'm very sorry to hear that you got cheated on, but I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. As cliche as it sounds, everything happens for a reason, and this was meant to not only guide you toward the person that you're actually supposed to be with, but also guide you closer to yourself, right? I feel like a lot of times when people get cheated on, when people get betrayed, abused, so on and so forth, they become very bitter, cynical, and resentful. And I understand that. I've personally never been cheated on, but I have had my heart broken before. And I get how that can make you a very cynical and bitter and resentful person. And you may even project that onto other people or into your day-to-day life. But what I've also learned over time is that if you take that as an opportunity to heal your inner traumas, you take that portal of pain and you go into your past traumas, your childhood traumas, the traumas which occurred more than likely between the time you were born and the time that you were 8 or 9 years old, your formative years where your brain is developing the fastest that it ever would for the rest of your life, then you can clear a lot of that trauma. You can gain more awareness as to who you are and why you ended up with that particular person, what traits about them you found attractive, and you can know why you maybe have certain patterns of choosing certain types of people. I'm not saying it's your fault that you got cheated on, but I do believe that at a certain point we all have to take accountability for our situations. There are a lot of people out there who subconsciously seek out toxic people because their subconscious mind is trying to relay to them that they have a toxic relationship with themselves. Your relationship with other people, especially your significant other, will almost always, with very few exceptions, reflect your relationship that you have with yourself. So focus on doing the shadow work, journaling, meditating on it, taking some time to sit in a room alone in the quiet, and maybe even make content about it. Maybe you can even create content explaining how you got cheated on in your story and use that as an opportunity to grow beyond it. And also provide a safe space, provide a community for people who have been through the same thing. But instead of taking that and trying to monetize it by manipulating vulnerable people, you can take it as an opportunity to help other people transcend their traumas as well by passing forth this information to them with your story.